After 5 years of winding through the streets and homes of Jamaica Plain, JP Porchfest is gearing up for a new program with a new generation of leaders. To tell us about the Porchfest experience and what's planned for Saturday, July 13th, are one of this year's co-producers, Devin Ferreira, and one of the founders, Mindy. Thank you both for being with us.
Yeah, thanks.
I want to start with Mindy because going back to how this all got started, I mean, and now it seems to be almost routine, but take us back to that first year. I mean, how you got from the idea to actually putting it out there?
Absolutely. Well, you know, we were first inspired by Somerville Porchfest, which had been doing its Porchfest for a couple of years, and we had gone to that and saw what a great event it was. So Marie Gitman and I, who were the co-founders and co-producers for the first 5 years, started thinking about how our Porchfest would look, and we felt strongly that we needed a mission around diversity, that we really wanted to use this event as a way to pull people together across the divides of race and class, culture, and immigrant status. Because as we looked at Jamaica Plain, which has this reputation of being kind of a very diverse community, we realized that it is segregated in many ways. And so we worked very hard to figure out how to engage everybody in the community in a really substantial way. In the first year, we had 35 porches and 65 bands. In the subsequent years, we have included not just music, but theater, dance, spoken word, storytelling, comedy, circus arts, and we used to have a politician's porch, although we've kind of let that one go for a little bit. But and we now get 10,000 people from JP who come every year. It's packed to the gills, and this year we have 96 porches and 181 bands. And I think that speaks to people realizing that, you know, this is an event that really welcomes everybody. We make sure that there's no barriers to being a part of JP Porchfest.
Well, part of the Porchfest story, Devin, is going back a few years now. There's a call to a location. Somebody there says, "Well, talk to Devin," and what happened after that?
Well, I heard about the mission and the reason why they wanted to do JP Porchfest, and it was something that I fully supported. And I knew I wanted to be a part of it. And I said, what can I do to help? And it said, hey, put on some music on this day during this time and engage the community. And we had a space to do it. And I just dove in, hit up everybody. And I know the young people that I was working with said, hey, do you guys want to perform with me that day? And everybody was on board. And we set up some speakers and we played music and people walked by and participated with us. And we really did what Mindy was talking about is we bridged the community. Everybody from different walks of life came together that day. People that, different age groups and demographics and languages came together and experienced music together that day. And that was when I realized what Porchfest is all about is real, and it bridges the community, and it makes people feel connected for that day. And you start to build relationships with people you might not normally meet. And I was hooked. Mm-hmm. And we've been doing it every year ever since.
No, I know you rap and you play saxophone, but you had some young people who were performing with you. Maybe they were performing for people that they're not around very much when they're performing usually. What was that like for them?
Well, before, during the time I was involved with Porchfest, I'd been working for Boys and Girls Clubs, and we've been working with teenagers in Boston doing all sorts of different things. And I would say, a lot of the young people I was working with at that time, didn't do a lot of work in JP, so it was fun for them to come out and experiencing something new and different for them. And overall, I think some of them might have been a little nervous to take the stage for the first time, but since it's such a warm and welcoming community, I really feel like it helped launch some of those young people into wanting to perform more. And so a lot of the young people who performed at Porchfest still perform many years later. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like the community really welcomed the young people and made them feel encouraged and to continue to practice and continue doing what they do. And so now some of the young people that performed in the beginning have done it multiple times, and to the point where this year, now they sign themselves up.
Mm-hmm. Mindy, I've noticed that because I've been to at least a couple of these Porchfests. I mean, you have some people who are really accomplished too. Why do they come out and do this?
We've had people say to us that playing at Porchfest has been the most powerful performing experience that they've had, because there is such an incredible audience. The feeling of the day is one of joy, and barriers are down to a great extent. And I think Devin was kind of alluding to this, but what we do is we get people to volunteer their porches, and so that people who don't have porches are welcomed into private space and perform on other people's, on other people's porches or whatever, stoops or whatever. And there's a sense of, you can go to all parts of JP. No place is off limits. There's so much joy that kind of percolates in the air. And we've had some bands tell us that their careers took off after. There was one band called Damn Tall Buildings that had probably 300 people the first year they performed. And when they put out an album and they had a release party at Passim's, the first thing they asked was, how many of you know us through Porchfest? And everybody's hand went up. So it was pretty incredible. And I think that's true of a lot of groups. I mean, we get all genres of music. And the fact that Commonwealth Circus wants to teach circus arts there, and we have a group called Never Too Late to Be a Poet, and that's a group of elder poets, and then we have all these youth that Devin works with, which is incredible. So there's a really wide age range, and then the kinds of, theater porch, that's incredible that we have like 6 or 7 theater companies that do one acts. So there's such variety, and people come back because they have a great experience.
This is BNN News. We're talking with Devin Ferreira and Mindy from JP Porchfest. Devin, what about some of those young performers? I guess you got to have somebody doing spoken word, at least one, maybe more than one?
Right. One of the young people that I've been working with for several years, he goes by Low Key Jay, and he is a young person who started out working with me, and he was always looking up to the other performers, like Clark D, these older guys who really have mastered their craft, and he always wanted to be one of those guys that was able to deliver, quality performances and get the crowd engaged. And I've seen him over the last 4 or 5 years, develop himself to the point where now he signed himself up. Mm-hmm. And so he's got a slot, and I totally have full faith in him to show up to the porch on time and deliver a quality performance. His lyrics are clean, inspirational, his energy is, electric. He knows how to work the crowd, and I'm so excited to, see these young people develop into young professional artists. They start out, needing a little bit of encouragement and support, but then next thing you know, they're doing it, on their own. And that's one of the huge things that I like about Porchfest is it provides an opportunity for anyone and everyone to come and perform their craft for a welcoming audience.
Mindy, one of my highlights last year was being in Eggleston Square, hearing this mix of Italian and Brazilian music. You've got something called Manushka this year, which is Balkan, Middle Eastern.
Right.
What's going on with that?
The word goes out, the call goes out, and people just come. You'd think that we had curated a lot of it, but in certain cases we certainly do, because we know people out there, and we want to make sure there's a real reflection of the diversity of the community and the performance groups. But in some cases, people just hear about it and they want to perform. There's one group called Tempo International Rhythm Section. They have performed at Nate Smith House, which is one of the Jamaica Plain Neighborhood Development Corporation sites. So that's affordable housing.
Right near Stony Brook Station. Yeah.
Exactly. The two, when they signed up, the JPNDC, the Nate Smith House folks requested Tempo, and Tempo requested them. They have been in the same site. This will be the 6th year, and every year the residents at Nate Smith House make empanadas and lemon. They have like a big spread of food, and they welcome people. And there's hundreds of people who come of all ages. So you have young and old of all backgrounds, and that's how it. There's these sort of mini cohorts or mini traditions within the larger group.
And you get all these emerging artists with Dynamis as well.
Exactly.
Devin, just to remind our viewers one more time, it's July 13th, the times, and a little bit about logistics about how to get there and figure out where to go.
Sure. July 13th, 12 to 6 p.m. There'll be music the whole time. We're going to show up a little early to First Baptist Church on Center Street to kind of get the booths and everything set up for people. So if they want to come and start there and then kind of make their way around, we'll have everything provided, so people can bounce around. It's accessible by train. Stony Brook would be an easy one. Jackson Square would be an easy one. Green Street. Those would be, public transportation accessible. And the rain date is the following day. So we're hoping for great weather. We're expecting great weather, but just in case, the rain date will be the following day. And we just look forward to everyone getting excited about JP Porchfest and bringing that positive energy to come out and experience community, music, and friendship with each other on that day.
And before we go, Mindy, one more thing to say about getting around to these Porchfest sites?
Right. So we encourage people who like to bike around, because that way you can really expand to all areas of the neighborhood. People love to walk around, but we also have a trolley, and that's going to be sponsored by the Center South Main Streets organization. And the trolley is going to go up and down Center Street, and will stop at each MBTA bus stop. So if people want to go on the trolley, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's just another way to get around.
Thank you both very much, Mindy Freed and Devin Ferreira.
All right, pleasure. Thanks.